Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to make a video on a weapon that's a little older, came out in 2015, Broken War. So Broken War, if you haven't seen, it's like a kind of Nikana type of weapon, and the way you get it is from completing the second Dream quest. It's given to you as a reward, but if you want it otherwise, you have to farm it from, I believe, Shadow Stalker, unless they've changed where it drops from. So I have 3 builds for you today with this weapon. For our first one, this one is my main build that I've been using a lot. This one functions similarly to Okina Prime Incarnate almost, without the ice daggers. So for our stance mod, we have Crimson Dervish. You can put anything here, but this one I like a lot, and it fits the polarity for this weapon. Otherwise, you have Iron Phoenix, and I think there was one other one. We have Berserker's Fury. On melee kill, 35% attack speed for 10 seconds, stacks up to 2 times. We have Vicious Frost, which if you don't have this, you could just throw on Northwind, but this gives us more status chance, which is what we want for this build. We have any Bane of your choosing, swap it out as needed. We have Shocking Touch for 90% electricity damage on this weapon to go with melee influence. We have Reach for some more range, because you can always use more. You can see here up in the top left, we have 4 meters of range with this weapon. We have Weeping Wounds, where you gain 40% status chance per combo multiplier. We have Virulent Scourge for Toxin and a little more status chance. And then we have Conditional Overload, 80% melee damage per status type affecting the target. With this weapon, we do Slash, a little bit of Puncture, a lot of Electricity, a little bit of Impact, and then Viral, just to make it a little bit more effective. And then for our other builds, we have this one here, which is sort of the same thing, but twisted a little bit, so we have Radiation as well. So again, we have Crimson Dervish, Conditional Overload, Shocking Touch, Volcanic Edge for some heat damage, Virulent Scourge, Galvanized Steel for crits, because this one leans more towards crit rather than status, which still has a lot of status because we have Conditional Overload and Weeping Wounds. But this one's more, like, goes both ways, rather than this first one here is more just statuses. And then we have Vicious Frost for cold, Weeping Wounds for status chance per combo multiplier, and Blood Rush for more critical chance, which stacks up with your combo multiplier. And then I went ahead and threw on Melee Retaliation. You gain 15% melee damage for every 200 shields currently up, with a maximum of 420%. Bonus is halved for overshields. And I'm running this on Excalibur, so I have 520 shields. So I think it's pretty solid, because 15% for every 200, so it's about 30%. I don't know if it does the in-betweens. And then for our third build, this one's a little bit of an older build. This is what I used to run before Galvanized mods came out, and I actually started like putting more work into this weapon. But again, we have Crimson Dervish, because I just really like this stance, and it fits my polarity, so why not use it? We have Pressure Point for more damage, Jagged Edge, and Rending Strike for Slash, and this gives a little puncture, but mostly for Slash. Melee Prowess for status chance, Fever Strike for Toxin, Quickening for attack speed and combo count chance, Northwind for cold, and Volcanic Edge for heat. So this one basically is a high slash and viral build. And then you can see down here our base damage is the highest of the 3 at 2,400, whereas this one, our second build is 1,300, and our first build is 927. So I'm going to take our first build here, and I'm going to run into the Simulacrum, and I can show you how these weapons work. And then after that, we will jump into a actual mission. All right, now we are here in the Simulacrum. This is the build that I'm going to show first. And I'm going to show all these builds with and without a primer, because a lot of them benefit a lot more with a primer. I also want to say for Excalibur, I do have these, which are melee crit damage. But you don't have to have these for this build to work at all. Same thing with Excalibur, I also have Steel Charge on. But like I said, you don't need that. I could swap it out and still do just as good with this weapon. But we're also here in the new Simulacrum, because I finally got a new one. So my enemies now are level 145, as you can see there. So this weapon, I said it functions similarly to Okina, in where you do your slashes, and then you can see all those guys in the area are getting hit with all the viral and everything like that now. And it just spreads it around to all nearby enemies, and then we have melee influence going crazy because of our electric damage. And then you build up your combo counter like any other melee, and then you just throw out a heavy, and miss because you're just that good. So that's this first build without a primer. Now I'll show the second build, which is our Radiation Viral setup. Alright. Still level 145. This is our Radiation Viral setup. And this one, we don't have melee influence, so as you can see, it's not spreading to everybody in the area, because this one doesn't use the electric damage. This one just uses viral radiation. So this one's more single target focused compared to the other one, which is more crowd control horde-ish almost. But you can see this one gets the job done on these guys, 145, and we're taking them down pretty quickly. And then throw out a heavy for some 800,000 damage. And then for our third build, this one's probably not going to do as well because this is kind of an old build. And I also have melee exposure on this one, so when I ability cast, I gain corrosive damage on top of everything else here. But this is our third build, and to do the... I'll show it without, and then I'll use Exalted Blade or Radial Javelin to show with the corrosive damage added on. But this is it without it, and you can see we're doing pretty good because this one has higher base damage and also attacks faster. So this one's pretty solid, but it does take quite a while to get these guys. And then let me run back here so these guys don't get hit by this. There we go. Now we should have our corrosive damage on our sword as well. And you can see that we're getting a little bit of armor strip now, and it kills them a little quicker just because we have that. Now, let's go back here, and I will throw on my Primer Doriga, which I have a build on if you haven't seen prior. And I'll show all of these, starting with this first one again, with a primer. So, with Doriga, we have our first build for War. And I'm not going to do any ability casts or anything like that, because I'm sure you can see I have Roar in the bottom right. But I'm not going to use that, because that's just for buffing, realistically. Alright, we have our guys reset for the most part. And you can see here, we do have conditional overload on this weapon. So you can see that they are going to get affected with a lot more statuses a lot faster. And then let's get rid of this guy. There we go. So that's our first build with a primer. It was a little bit quicker because we have conditional overload, so it'll go a little bit faster. Same thing with this second build, we have conditional overload as well. So having our primer is going to make this one all the more better. Let's go ahead and reset our 20 heavy gunners. There we go. Alright. And we'll start slapping. And this one's still, this is the one without melee influence, so this one does take a little bit longer to get through groups still, just because we don't have the constant spread. But you can see there we got a red crit, there's another one, and another, because we have conditional overload giving us that additional 80% damage. So this one is a little quicker because of the primer, but not my favorite, because you can see here we're still taking quite a while to get through these groups. There's a 2.2 mil red crit. But it takes a while to get through the groups. We can see we didn't even clear all those guys. But that's that build. And then our third one, we don't have conditional overload on it, so this one really won't change with and without a primer. So I'll just show it on these little guys here that are still remaining. But you can see here, it's about the same. Maybe it's a little bit quicker just because we have extra tick damage from the primer going on. But that one's nothing too crazy. This one's more for if you have like lower level mods or want to build this weapon and you just got it from completing Second Dream. And then now I want to show our first initial build, but this time with Roar, because this is my main build on Excalibur. And we also have on Excalibur his Augment, which also boosts our melee damage even further. Furious Javelin. Each enemy hit increases my melee damage by 15%. And then we also have Arcane Fury. On critical hit, gains 60% chance for 30% melee damage to all melee weapons. So, with those combined with Roar, things can get a little silly. So, we have these guys reset now. Let's come out here, activate Roar, activate our Javelin, and then we start swinging. And because of Roar giving us that big damage buff, which with this build, I'm not... There we go. They're already gone. With this build and Roar, I have just about a 57% damage increase. But then with our Javelins active, we have an additional 15% for every enemy hit. And then Steel Charge gives us 60% melee damage. Unless that doesn't affect us, and that's just for our teammates. And then we have this, when it procs, we'll get an additional 30%. Which is pretty good. And then with this weapon on criticals, that's when you get it. We have a 35% chance, so you could use this one, which gives you a 66% chance. And this is the one that we're going to rock here. So, with all that being said, we are going to jump into a Steel Path mission, and I will show you guys what this build can do. Alrighty, now we are here in Steel Path on Deimos with our war build, or broken war build, I should say. So, these guys are level 155, as you can see there. And we just absolutely tear these guys up. There we go. So I've been using this weapon a lot more recently, with 1999 releasing yesterday as of recording. And I used this all throughout 99. It was really good. Just gives you the big ad clear. And I don't know, for me it makes melee feel more viable in Steel Path. Because I had Okina Prime, which I made a video about a couple days ago, or last week, I think, at the time of recording. And that's been my main melee, but this one I really like. It gives me another option for a melee weapon that's not an Incarnon that I have to charge up. And this one I can just mindlessly attack things, and they'll just fall over. And then if I really want to get wild, I can activate Roar, and it just gives me even more damage, and more status is spreading around. Let's get rid of these flying dudes. And then if I want even more damage, we've always got our javelins we can use, which give us the additional 15% per enemy hit, which is also super, super nice. Let's go ahead and actually do it here so I get that damage buff. Let's split the guzzling up. Let's get rid of these guys. Oh, one of them's ice. There we go. Get rid of those guys. Move arm. Got our combo built up, and we will get away from here so I don't fall over. There's that guzzling, actually. Go ahead and get a little execution here. Get rid of this guy too. I don't want him taking my remaining HP. Let's go ahead and activate Roar there, and then we'll Javelin here. Necromech will be a pretty solid test, actually, for our melee weapon. We fall over, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and Javelin and Roar here. Let's start slashing at this guy. Go ahead and throw out a heavy. Whoa. Man, those Necromechs have a lot of health. Build our combo back up on these little dudes. Hit our little Javelin. Get this guy out of here. I will have a build video coming up for Excalibur here soon. I'm just working out a few more, I'm working out a few more things with Excalibur, because this Necromech's being really annoying, actually. But I used him throughout 99 as well, Excalibur as my main frame, and it was pretty good. Because I know here I'm dying a lot, it's just this Necromech is blowing me up. Yeah, you can see, he's just murking me. But aside from the Necromech, I haven't really had any issues with, anything else in the game. It's just this Necromech is giving me issues. And there we go. The Necromech's gone, and so are the problems. But, yeah, this weapon's pretty solid. You get it pretty early on, and this build's really good for it. Because this is what I've been using as, like, my main melee here lately, since I've been wanting to use, the old-style weapons for 1999. So I have the AX52, which you can get. I'll make a video on how to get that once I cover what's all new in 99. I also have Lex Prime, because I don't have Vesper 77 yet, but that's what I am going to put here. And then for my melee, obviously Broken War. This weapon came out in 2015 with the second Dream Quest. And I have the skin from playing the demo for 1999 on it, which is really, really cool. But I used this build all throughout 1999. It was really good. It serves its purpose. And as you can see here, we're still kind of messing up with no buffs. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video nonetheless. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.